Okay, my name is Lucia Modesto. I'm a character TD supervisor at PDI DreamWorks. And I've been doing computer graphics for 30 years now. And, I started with a 16-color paint system. And as graphics evolved, I've been changing venues. And I started on 3D on 1983. And I've been working at the time it was mostly flying logos, commercials, but since 1997 I started at PDI DreamWorks working on the movie Ants, and I stay there, and it's really what I like to do. It's the rigging of characters. Well, I guess the interaction with character designers, it depends on the character design, first of all. But I mean, there's a lot of back and forth. I mean, once you explain okay, the problem, you screen the problem and say, okay, this is the problem that we're getting. Usually they are fine with that, on changing or adapting. Sometimes they say, no, this element is really important. And then we try to, okay, we'll have to compromise a little bit, and then we have to get animation in it, because usually the problems is the range of motion. Because animation wants to have this huge range of motion, and sometimes the character design doesn't allow you to. Especially in the case on robots. For instance, on Megamind, we had Minion, who was the fish inside the robot body. The first design of Minion, he could barely move, because if he bent his arm, his lower arm and his upper arm would hit each other very quickly, and he couldn't even go 90 degrees with his elbow. The same with the ankles, with the wrists. I mean, they had a design, but then we said, okay, we have a problem here, that the range of motion that the animators want, it's not what the art director was thinking of, having, a robot moving very stiffly, that he wouldn't need the range of motion. So then Art went back and redesigned it so that, and working very closely with us, we would give some suggestions. Okay, you can cut here, made it wider here, so we can slide this inside that. We added some sliding parts to the character so that we could move the fat part in a way that would give a little bit more range. So there was a lot of back and forth between us and art direction. The Shrek movies, I mean, we did 4 of them. We inherit a lot. When you're doing a sequel in general, you inherit a lot of assets. Usually we end up re-rigging them, because technology keeps going, and getting an old character is like using an old piece of software. It doesn't work as well, and it has its problems. It's not maintained as well. So you always have to improve and improve. And because we have all these movies running in parallel, you always have things that you suddenly, I want to have that on my character, and I didn't have it before. So if you compare the characters on Shrek 4 with the ones in Shrek 1, the models might be almost the same. Of course, we tweak the models a little bit just to make them look better. But technology-wise, they're like way ahead. For the animators, it's easier to animate. They have more control. And that's the whole idea. That's basically what we do. We built the digital puppet for the animator to help him, So the controls we put in is to make their lives easier, so they can animate faster. So they concentrate more on the acting than on how to animate. One of the big challenges was we were using a completely new software to rig the dragons, and dragons are not simple. Wings are not a simple thing to rig. And there was one dragon that had 2 necks, and it was, I think it's Zipperback, the name, and the necks had to blend together to work as one neck and split. So each one had its own little complication. And but once they figured out, okay, this is how we do it, it's always the first and second where you hit all the problems, and then after that everything goes smoothly. But the dragons were, they had like one person working on wings, one person working on the body. They had to split it and try to figure out what to do with the whole dragon. The new rig, it was used by one character on Madagascar 2. On How to Train Your Dragon, we used this new to rig all the dragons. All the humans were used what we call our classic setup. Megamind was the first movie that we used. Everything was rigged with the new software, and all the movies after that we're doing that. On Megamind, when we saw the 2 characters that we had to do, it was Metroman and Titan. we said, okay, we have to fake some muscles in there. So basically, we use this almost the same technique we use for the other characters, that we have this deformation cage, only we create like a mini deformation cage for each muscle. So each muscle would have we could shape it, or we could tension and make it and change the shape, either according to the position of the character. If you bend his arm, his biceps would get bigger. But we could also trigger that by animation control. So we had the automatic motion of the muscles that were triggered by the motion of the character. The muscle get bigger. If your arm get compressed, it will compress the muscle. Or animators could animate on top of that. It could kill that automatic animation, or could add their own animation on top. So it was, each little muscle was a little deformation cage that we could control. And on top of that, we put a bigger one, a higher res that would run on top of all those little lumps, and that would create. And then we just attached the skin on it, and it worked well. Right now, I think we have either 7 or 8 movies being in production right now, at different stages of production. We just finished Puss in Boots because it just came out, or it comes out on the beginning of November, so it's done. But we have all the movies that will be released next year, and the movies that will be released up to 2014 already, some already in production. So we have things in very different stages. And the advantage of that is that we collaborate a lot between the movies, at least on the character TD department, when we rig the characters. All the supervisors for all the movies, all the character TD supervisors, we meet every week, and we discuss what are we changing, what are being asked to do, and all the other shows inherit from one another. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We share some parts of the character rig amongst all the shows. So there's a lot of collaboration between the movies, and because it's one department that we work for different clients, but it's just one department working together.